I know I don't usually do videos like this where I'm just speaking about a certain topic or ranting about something, but in this particular case I feel like it. I just feel like expressing myself about this certain issue. What this issue is, for those who are blind, um, who can't read a title, it's about American McGee's Alice Free, or Alice Asylum. Yeah, what a great name. Now, I don't usually like to talk about games or game developers, but in this particular case, I feel like I need to say a few things about this. So, I know I'm a little bit late to the party because this was announced quite a few days ago. Well, weeks. But essentially what has happened is American McGee, the guy who created American McGee's Alice and Alice Madness Returns and Other Lands, has decided to create another Alice game, or at least fundraise it. This time being for a prequel. You heard me right, a prequel. And whereas before I would have had, whereas when I was younger I would have been overly excited, happy, enjoying it. This time I'm not so happy. This time I'm not going to enjoy it as much. I'm kind of worried, actually. Well, I say kind of, I really am worried, because it's pretty hard to explain, really. Very hard to explain. Well, let's just look at the background at first. So, American McGee from the very start always wanted to make a franchise out of it, out of Alice. First game, major success, cult following. In my opinion, it's the greatest game of all time, but that's me being biased. Second game was a success, though in my personal opinion, I didn't like it as much as everyone else said it was. I kind of felt it was disappointing, really. It ruined the continuity of the first game, and keep that in mind, continuity is quite important. And then came Other Lands, which is universally panned by fans alike, because of how awkward it was. Once again, another fundraised sort of sequel to Madness Returns. Of course, it wasn't as great as everyone thought it was going to be at all. Sorry about that pause, by the way. I was checking that the camera's still recording, because sometimes it doesn't record unless you're constantly moving. Just by the fact that you're just hearing my voice and watching other stuff, or maybe just a still image, because that's how I'm going about with this. But yes, so Otherlands wasn't as great. People didn't like it at all. A lot of people called it weeaboo trash. I remember that quite specifically in the comment sections. I don't know if they're still there, but yeah, people weren't really thrilled about that. So after that was unsuccessful. Well, I say unsuccessful, like-dislike ratio shows differently, but then again, you shouldn't really trust a like-dislike ratio, nor should you trust subscriber count, I would like to point out. So it wasn't as great as everyone thought it was going to be. But now McGee wants to do a third game, and he's going to fundraise it because no one's giving him money to make it in the first place. And as we've seen from other fundraised video games, it can be a mixed bag, because you might have Mighty Number 9, which was atrocious, or you might have some random indie game which is actually really well made, but no one gives a shit because it's not that important. It's not by anyone big and famous. And American McGee sort of sits in the middle, I'd say. But Alice 3 is a prequel. And one of my problems with Madden's Returns, as I mentioned earlier, is continuity. It kind of butchers the continuity of the first game and decides, you know, the first game, oh yeah, forget about that. Let's just recreate it, shall we? And what I fear about this third one is it's going to do the same. It's going to try and say, well, forget the other two. This is the real story. Because, as I like to point out, it's a prequel. A prequel. Now, as we find out, or as you may know if you played the first game, the first game specifically says that Alice has not been in Wonderland since her childhood, which is the Alice's adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, those books, in other words. So, making a prequel where she's in Wonderland when she's 13 years old while in the asylum is pretty fucking stupid already, if you get what I mean. Because you kind of fucked up the continuity there. You can't just show and say something in one game and then say, oh, well, screw it, that never really happened. It's sort of like the whole who set fire to the little household. We clearly see it's the fucking cat, but, you know, we might as well just add this rapist paedophile in just for laughs, shall we? And maybe I'm getting a little bit too defensive about this because of how much I love the first game, and maybe it's me with nostalgia goggles, obviously. But my worry doesn't just end with the continuity there, but there's also other problems with it. I'm not looking forward to it whatsoever because I feel like they're going a little bit too far with the game. From this simple, you know, one-off game, which has now gotten a sequel, like 10 years later, and now all of a sudden we're getting, year after year, something new about it. It's like, surely there should be some time, you know. I mean, 2020, I guess, is some time, but you forget about the other lands, which was in between. You forget about all this other promotion in other games. It's like, oh, get your own Alice figurine or whatever the fuck it was. Yeah, it's just... It feels like it's too much now. As strange as that may seem. Like I said, if you asked my younger self, I would have asked for loads of stuff, you know, from the first game. But now that I'm a bit more mature, but now that I'm older, my opinion on it is completely different. I'm one of these people that would argue you should have just left it with the first game and that was it. But obviously that wouldn't do. We need a sequel. We need a prequel. We you know, what's next? A fourth game where it's set in the far future. You know, this time it's Alice's children who are in Mad Wonderland, whatever the fuck it is. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if that's the fucking next game after 3, because that's the way it's fucking going. You might as well do it. I mean, you might as well. And I'm sure a lot of people are not going to be happy. Those who actually watch this video, I'm not going to say that everyone on the entire planet is going to watch this video. Hell, most I probably get is 5 views. But the 5 of you that watch this, I do say this. Be wary. Please be wary. That's my computer, by the way. Like I said, I've got my computer on because I'm literally reading about this, as I've only just discovered it today. Well, let's say today is in the time I'm filming this, which is 26th of October, for those that might be curious. To be fair, that's really fucking pointless, but, you know. But, as I was saying, continuity will be fucked up, I'm sure. In fact, I'm not just sure, I'm certain it will be. I am certain it's going to happen. I am certain they're going to change some shit. It wouldn't surprise me if the gameplay and the characters models decide to just change all of a sudden, because why not? You know, the sequel, Madness Returns, did that quite spectacularly. When I mean spectacularly, I mean by horrifically. I mean, fucking hell. I hated the character models they used for some of the characters. Not all of them, some. In particular, Mock Turtle, whose head is way too large in terms of proportions. And then there's the Queen who, yeah, less we speak about the Queen of Hearts and Madness Turns, the better. And knowing this game, it might as well just change the Queen into a fucking pig. A pig with, I don't know, fiery hair. You might as well do that. Because that's the way it's gonna go, I bet you. And maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it might be good. And maybe I'm just judging it way too quickly. And knowing me, even if it's good or bad, I'll probably still own it. Because that's the type of person I am. That is, if the Kickstarter works. And I'm one of these people who won't be funding it. I don't trust Kickstarters for anything, really. The only one that I ever trusted was one for Robot Wars, but that's because I knew the robot was going to, you know, be made, but I digress. This is a bit of a problem that we're seeing with the Alice community, and that is, they're sort of like lemmings, really. As soon as they hear something new about their beloved game franchise, they're going to walk off the edge and follow the leader, essentially. And that's what's going to happen here. We're going to follow the leader until, you know, we fall off the edge. And you never know, they might, you know, keep it tame, you know. Even though I give Madness Returns a lot of shit, I don't think it's an awful game. It's an okay game. It's not a game that I like, but it's not a game that I hate. I can still pick it up and play it all the time, and who knows, it might be bearable, but it won't be memorable, it won't be special as the first game was, you know. It won't have that atmosphere, it won't have that brilliance, that beauty to it. Because I can certainly remember a lot more from the first game than I do from Other Lands or Madness Returns, which, let's be honest now, are incredibly forgettable. I can hardly remember a single thing other than some of the horrific design choices and the fact that they changed the fire, which I still can't get over. But then again, Alice and Asylum will probably change everything again. Without being too cruel to American McGee, because he does seem like a genuine guy. I've seen some of his videos on YouTube, I've seen his streams, and he's a friendly bugger. He seems nice, he seems calm, and it's obvious that this is his dream, and all the power to him. However, without being too harsh, without assuming too much, well, this is an assumption, but it almost feels like he just wants to forget about the past and just look to the future. Which is an incredibly dangerous thing any game developer, any movie maker, any TV show maker, any music maker, anyone to do, is forget the past. Because as soon as you forget the past, you concentrate on the future, and then you just fuck up. You know, he sort of did it with Madness Returns, you know. As soon as Madness Returns came out, American McGee's Alice was almost forgotten about, and no one ever heard of it or cared about it. As soon as Other Lands came out, Madness Returns and American McGee's Alice were both forgotten about. No one really cares about it. And I bet when Alice Asylum comes out, those will go out into obscurity. Because that's the way it's going, that's the way it feels. It doesn't feel like it's loved or nurtured, it just feels like it's, you're old now, goodbye. And that's quite concerning. That is very concerning. Another problem that I have is it's very easy to say that you want to create a franchise. It's very easy to say that you want to create a sequel, another American McGee's Alice game. But what's next? You know. Oh, I want to create Alice 3. Yeah, what are you going to do with it? Oh, it's going to be a prequel. Yeah, what is it going to be about? Oh, it's going to do this, that, and the other. And then you don't know what to actually do with it. And I think that was the problem with Madness Returns in particular. It was very easy to say that American McGee's Alice was going to have a sequel. But, and this is a big but, I cannot lie. Bad joke there. But the problem with with making a sequel to American McGee's Alice, which was Alice Madness Returns, was the fact that it was easy to say, well, you want a sequel, but what are you going to do? You could easily just send it back to Wonderland and just do a repeat of the first game, but that would be kind of dull and drab. You could have easily have done something completely different, set it in the far future, you know, with Alice and, I don't know, her family. I mean, I know I just criticised that idea, but, you know, you could have done that. Probably wouldn't be as good as the first game. Or you could have just had her regress, you know. Regress back into insanity. You know, things aren't going great, you know, she's in the open world and now things are fucking up around her. And they sort of did that, but then they had to decide, you know what, we gotta rewrite the whole, you know, continuity. And with Alice 3, that's sort of going to be the case. Let's be honest, I'm almost certain that is going to be the case. And I know this is just a big ramble, and I don't really do rambles, which is why I'm repeating myself, but at the end of the day, I'm not hopeful for this game. Unlike Madness Returns, where I was absolutely, you know, thrilled, I was, you know, excited. But here, this time, I'm not excited. This time, I'm actually quite worried. You know, my favourite video game of all time is now going to get another game, and this time it might change everything. It's not like, you know, a Chucky movie, for example, where, you know, you could just do whatever the fuck you want. You've got to have some sort of level of keeping track. You need to keep things at a certain pace. You can't just go ahead and change everything willy-nilly. You have to keep it in line, but the problem is it's not being kept in line, it's being changed willy-nilly. All those problems are occurring. And yeah, I hate to say this, but I'd rather there would be no sequel. I'd rather this Kickstarter fails than to get a prequel, not sequel, I keep saying sequel, a prequel which is a disappointment, which won't just piss off the older fans, won't piss off the newer fans, it'll piss off everyone. I'd rather keep it safe and just leave it there and there. But instead, that's not going to happen, is it? Let's be honest, that is not going to happen one bit. So, go ahead, by all means, do this Kickstarter. I don't mind if you're doing this Kickstarter whatsoever, but be wary, and I mean be fucking wary, that things might not be as great at the end of the rainbow. It might look pretty, but by the end of it, you'll just dive bombing into shit. And that is what happened with Madness Returns. That is what happened with Otherlands. Top of the rainbow, and then you dive bomb straight into shit. Really, it should have just been left at one game. And that was it. It really should have.